Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Karen Sliwinski. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and I live in Northeast Ohio. So today's video is going to be all about your sentiment labels. So often we think that sentiment labels have to be plain. So usually they're white or very vanilla. Sometimes we take black cardstock and emboss it with white. But I'm going to show you some other ways that we can use sentiment labels and jazz them up so that they're not so plain. I'm also going to be featuring our gorgeous leaves bundle today. It is so pretty. I think you're going to really love it. And then here is a sneak preview of the first card I'm going to demonstrate today, and I'm going to show you a bunch of other cards at the end. So I hope you like this video. If you do, please give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps me to grow my business. I do have a blog that you can get more details about the card. I'm going to also post the measurements in the card. And if you would like to place an order, I would be so grateful if you placed an order through my online store. I do have a host code if you're ordering less than $150. I appreciate it if you would use it. And I'm going to turn the camera around and we're going to get started. All right, let's begin our card. So you can see that our color palette today is crushed curry. I have some early espresso. So this is a piece that is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And then I have a piece of our 6x6 Regal's Designer Series paper. This, I love this pattern. This cross-checked is my favorite in this. This is 3 3/4 by 5, so these are going to layer nicely. We also need a piece. This is 4 by 5 1/4 for the inside of the card. And then we need some scraps. So this is a piece of crushed curry that is about 3 by 2 1/4, and some Cajun craze that's 3 by 1 1/4. These are to cut out our leaves, and then we're going to need a piece of basic white for our label. So this is 1 1/2 by 2 3/4. Of course, our card base is a half a sheet of paper. So this is 8 1/2 by 5 1/2, and I am just going to take that and I'm going to fold it in half, and then I'm going to grab my bone folder and give that a really good press. All right, so the Gorgeous Leaves bundle. This is it. I love this. I'm a really sucker for leaves, and so I wasn't going to get this one. It came out in our new mini catalog, and then I've seen some beautiful things, and so I had to get it. And then it does have a set of dies that you can get it as part of the bundle. So these are beautiful. They cut out really detailed leaves. And then these are going to cut out these leaves right here. Then it has some small leaves, and I'm going to really feature this quite a bit today. So I am going to get some of these leaves out. We're going to be using those. The rest I'm just going to set it aside. I'm also going to be using, this is our painted labels dies. So I'm going to be using this label today in our card, but then some of the other ones I'm going to show you uses some of the other ones. And then this sentiment, the stamp set doesn't have any sentiments with it. So you can pair it with any of your favorite ones. So I'm using some of the sentiments from the Simply Succulent stamp set. So I'm going to be using the Thanks and Kind People are my kind of people for the inside. So I'm just going to set that aside. So the first thing we're going to want to do is take one of our background stamps. This is just sort of a splatter, and I am going to pull out my 2 ink pads, Early Espresso and Crushed Curry, and we are going to stamp in Crushed Curry, and I'm going to stamp. I just want to cover the majority of my label here. All right, so that looks great. And then I'm going to close this up. And then we are going to take our Early Espresso and we are going to stamp Thanks. And I just want this over to the side. Great. Now I find that Early Espresso is one of those inks that takes just a little bit longer to dry. So you want to let this sit for just a few minutes so that you don't smear the ink, because I have done that before. So I'm going to set that aside. And then I am going to take my layers. So of my Early Espresso, I am going to die cut the branch from my crushed curry I am going to die cut my leaf. This is the big leaf. I think that is a maple leaf. And then for my little piece of Cajun craze, I'm going to cut the other leaf. So I'm going to go cut those and I will be right back. All right, I am back. So I have my leaves cut out, and you can see that I still have just a few little pieces. So I'm going to use my take your pick tool and just give these a little poke. They actually come out quite easily. Most of them came out when I lifted off the die cut. But there's a few little scragglers. I'm just going to pick those off. And that one came out beautifully. And then here is our branch. I also cut out the label. So I just used one of those labels, and it gives a very nice beveled edge, which I really like. So there we have a gorgeous label. Now we're ready to assemble our card. It's really quick and easy. So we are going to take our glue and put our piece of designer series paper. Let me see. Oh, I've got some glue goobers here. And I must be getting low on glue here. So this is just the tiniest of borders. Okay, it just sets this off beautifully. Okay, and then we can actually go ahead and put that on our card. We are not going to pop up this layer. We're just going to adhere this, and that's going to center right in the middle of our card base. And then the assembly of this is really quite easy. So the first thing I'm going to do is add just a little bit of glue to the bottom of, oops, that's a little bit too much, to the bottom of our branch. And I'm going to put that right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with our big crushed curry leaf. I'm going to put just a little bit of glue on this bottom section that's going to overlap our label. It's easier to pick this up. And hold that in place. And then we're going to put our last leaf on here. This one gets a little bit more because a little bit more of it overhangs. Okay, so there we have our decorative sentiment label. So we're going to add some dimensionals to this. I'm going to add 4 of them. And peel off the backings. And adding that branch in there, I think, is just a really nice little touch because it adds the depth of that dark paper. But it's just like a little hint of it. It's not too dominant. And there we have that. So what I thought would be really pretty, and we can decorate the inside. So I have this sentiment that says, kind people are my kind of people. And we're going to stamp that in our early espresso, and we're going to put that up here in the corner. And then this maple leaf, which is so pretty, I'm going to stamp that in the crushed curry. Now you could also stamp it in, say, Cajun craze. Maybe you would stamp it off if you were using the Cajun craze. But I think the crushed curry looks beautiful, and I'm just going to stamp it right over those words. And I'm going to close this up. We are going to add this to the inside of our card. So I'm going to put some more glue. I think I really do have to get a new one of these. And then make sure I've got it the right way. And then I'm just going to center this. I usually do it this way. I do the 3 outside edges and make sure they're even. And then that looks perfect. And then one last final thing, just to give it a little extra oomph, is I am going to spritz it with my Stampin' Right marker. Now this is the early espresso one. If you wanted to, if you didn't have this one, you could use the black one, but you're just gonna flick. This one looks like it's getting a little bit drier, and my flicks are very, very tiny. So I'm gonna do quite a few of them here, just so I can get some of those flicks on here. And I'll show that to you. So I'm gonna bring that up. You can see just a little bit of those flicks show up. So that is our card. How quick and easy was this one? And it really shows off those beautiful dies. Now I'm going to show you some other ones that I have made. So this next one, I have used all 3 of those leaves, and I have chosen to use Pear Pizzazz, Old Olive, and Garden Green. And I stamped all over, sometimes first stamp, sometimes second stamp, but I basically filled in the area where I wanted to use my nested label die. So once I got everything stamped on there, I cut it out with my nested label, and then I did do a little bit of sponging, just with a little bit of Pear Pizzazz to kind of fill it in so it didn't have any of the white showing. And then I stamped the happy birthday. So the happy actually was embossed. So I stamped the birthday, and then I embossed in white over the happy, over the birthday with happy. And then I stamped on the top part with just the same color as my paper, which is Garden Green. And then that is the inside of that one. So again, it's pretty simple, but this label is super jazz. It almost looks like it's designer series paper. And then I stamped the same thing in the back of the label. This next card is also a very quick and easy card. So I used some of our beautiful designer series paper, which really makes the whole card so pretty. And then I cut out a label, also using, this is the painted label, so it's one of these. So, oh, actually it's not, it's from another stamp, or another die set. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, I cut out my label, and then I stamped a greeting. And this one really works better if you have a bolder greeting. And then after I stamped that, I put some of those leaves that I cut out with the dies from this gorgeous leaf set. I glued them on, and then I die cut it out. Then actually I did a little bit of the little dots that are on this one here too. Okay, so I filled that in a little bit, and then I ran it through an embossing folder. So I gave texture to the whole label. So not only do you have these leaves on here, but they are really pressed right into the label. And it's just another way that you can change up your labels. It makes them just totally look different by having this texture. I'll bring it up if you can see that cool texture on that one. All right, this next card, I actually did make my label out of designer series paper. And I did this time use one of these. So I used this one, which is sort of almost like a wreath. And then I cut out a whole bunch of those little leaves, and I pasted them around it like a leaf, added some little pearls in my bow, and then I stamped my sentiment right there on this designer series paper. So look at your designer series papers. Look to see which ones don't have too busy of a pattern that you could stamp directly onto them and still read your sentiment, and then use those for a label. So that was my sample there. And then this one is my favorite. I just love this one. I used those maple leaves. And so what I did on this one is I cut out my label first, and that is using this label right here. And I love how it has the beveled edges. And this one I had to use my Stamparatus. So what I did is I stamped my first leaf here, which happened to be in the pumpkin pie. And then I opened it up. I put my label down right there in the center of it. And then I just kind of tucked some paper around this edge so that this didn't get stamped again. And I used my Stamparatus to go right down in the same spot. So there it lined up. Took my label away, stamped my next one, put the label back, put my paper around it, and then stamped on the label. So I continued doing it, so I just kind of did this swoop of leaves over there, and I thought this one came out so pretty. Added a few of our little sequins to it, and it is gorgeous. And then I just added some more leaves to there, and I decorated this one with lots of leaves on the envelope. So there you have it. It's a great way to jazz up and think about your sentiment labels in a different way. You know, stamping on them in designer series paper, cutting them out with your label, and then embossing on them. And of course, you can just let your imagination go, and you can come up with all kinds of ways that you can spruce up those sentiment labels. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope that you do appreciate this video and have learned something new today. I will see you next time. Thank you.